I'm going to start really wide and then get very specific here for the Los Angeles-based community, green community. I'm going to start with Ed, who is really, more focused, and I guess his expertise is really on a national scale. And so specifically, Ed, what do you see going on out there? Macroeconomically, we're in a recession. We have oil at $48, $49 a barrel. We have, the green sector, like other sectors, on its butt as far as the capital markets go. We are totally struggling out there. People are actually saying, writing in the Wall Street Journal, the green movement is dead. It doesn't matter. Right now, people need to get jobs. People need to focus on their own sort of sustainability. It's about the bottom line, and it's all, and green is now tertiary. How do you address that, and what do you say about that, and what do you see out there?
Well, you said a lot of it. A lot of it is very negative right now. The economic crisis and the financing freeze has been deadly for renewable energy companies. One way to look at it is that these are industrial companies. These are very capital-intensive companies. You've got to build windmills, big solar farms, et cetera, et cetera. They take tremendous amounts of financing. The financing has dried up. The buyers are putting off their purchases, et cetera, et cetera. The biggest, or perhaps the most spectacular example of this is T. Boone Pickens. T. Boone Pickens was planning to build the world's largest wind farm in Texas with a $12 billion budget. All over the media, he was in Congress every other day, et cetera, and he is now putting plans on the back burner. So there's a drying up of capital. In the public markets, you see that the companies, the stocks, are in single digits in many cases, just taken out and shot. So it's very gloomy. There's no one who is saying anything positive about a recovery that's in sight. I mean, I think generally speaking, people know that green industry is a necessity for the world, a strategic necessity for the nation, but as far as the economic lay of the land, there's no recovery in sight. But if one were to take an optimistic view, and I'm not paid to be optimistic, I'm paid to be objective, but I think that there are catalysts out there in 2009, perhaps 2010, but I think that they're very, very profound, and they're large scale. And they include the fact that this new government is becoming the economic force, the financier of last resort, is going to be not only financing a lot of what goes on in the economy in 2009 and 2010, but it's going to control how those funds are used. And this new government coming in has a very strong commitment to renewable energy and green industry because, as we all know, it's a matter of energy security as well as trying to do something about the condition of the planet. So that's one big catalyst. And another is just as the symptoms of climate change become more visible as time goes on. Right now, from my point of view, they tend to be visible but not spectacular. And as time goes on, we may see more spectacular symptoms of climate change, like more severe droughts, for instance, in California, and many other possibilities that can sort of accelerate investment, accelerate interest, accelerate programs for getting environmental industry back on its feet. Just one more thing before I sign off on this question. I thought it was very interesting, the condition of the auto companies right now, which, is a misfortune and risks millions of jobs, et cetera, et cetera. I think that there is a potential outcome, a potential sustainability outcome for the auto industry, depending on what happens in Congress. And so this is an example of a misfortune indeed that could turn out to be opening up the market for green industry, because if they decide that they need to salvage the auto industry in a way that's going to create sustainable transportation, it could result in an opening of a great new market. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ed. I'm going to sort of shift here from the macro and sort of personalize this first, and then pass it on over to Brett and the other panelists. I'm an investor, and I've been invested in the capital markets, and I've like other capital markets investors, have lost a lot of money. And as an angel investor who invested and started Gina's Gypsy Tea and some other local companies, I'm now looking for local companies, local folks where I can deploy my capital so that I could get, so I could really build and see a good ROI from a locally based company. Because I know that in the capital markets and the public markets, I'm not so sure that I'm going to get the kind of return that maybe 6 months ago I could have gotten. So assuming that's the framework for us up here, and that in fact we're all looking for new innovative investors and new innovative companies, I'd like to ask Brett the following question. Brett, what do you look for? What's the criteria that you look for in a company if you're going to invest in it? And what sort of companies have you invested in locally?
Well, what I really look for is, first thing, is the company on some kind of trend? Something where the tide's rising. That's always a huge help. You don't want to get on the tail end of a trend. You don't want to get in too early. You want to just make sure if you are early, you better be talking to guys like Andy, because he's has the patience to follow a company all the way through to when the trend does start. So. You definitely want to know that you can get into a company that can generate pretty positive returns quickly, and not have a lot of technical barriers to getting there. I see business plans again and again, and I'm sure we all have, of companies that have some good idea, but when you really look at the technology, it looks very, very difficult. There's too many barriers to get to where the potential is of making it happen. And I've seen battery companies, for instance, with a lot of promise that just have not been able to get to the place they need to get to. And there's a lot of hope a lot of times in companies. And you see that it's a huge need in the market possibly, but again, they have to be able to demonstrate that they can produce and execute, and a lot of that comes down to management. In terms of local companies, I did some early on investing that was more on the green side of this space, and one of them's Essential Living Foods, which Bill's familiar with. And what I really found there is again, they were into superfoods. It was I see more and more people turning to healthier foods to eat. There's again, even in a market like today, people are even though the economy may be contracting some, if you can get into a place where there's market share that can be taken from other players in the market, for instance, maybe people will eat less potato chips and eat healthier food. That's a massive amount of potential business out there. So especially in today's environment, you might want to look at where's the trend, what's happening socially with people such that they might switch from money that they're spending now on one product and move it into another one. And especially I think people are going to be thinking green. It's going to be more on the top of mind because of our new administration coming in. So look for those opportunities. I think there will be plenty. And even in this marketplace today, I think we're going to be able to find plenty of opportunities.
Great, thanks.